Yo, so I saw Wicked, and I'd love to talk about it. I have been so excited to see Wicked, obviously. I was so excited to see the first part, and for me, the second part absolutely delivered. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about some of the movie's strengths, some of its weaknesses. I'm going to mostly try and focus around the music and the vocals here. I'm not a film critic. I don't like to watch movies in general. You know, if there's something really good, I'll go watch it. There might be spoilers in this review. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to say something spoilery, and I'm going to do my best to avoid it. But, you know, if it comes up, it comes up. There are spoilers, by the way. There's also like 2 seconds of movie footage and a little bit of one of the songs. Just warning you. We've had so many bad or mediocre or middling musical movies in the past. So I'm so glad to have something like this that's a huge, big budget production, but, you know, has a lot of live singing in it. And that's one thing that this musical did very well. Same thing with the first one. But if anything, I think maybe this second one has maybe a little bit more live singing than the first one. But, you know, I'll really have to like watch it again to know that for sure. But you can hear them breathe. The singing lines up with the vocalists' mouths. Not always, right? I don't think it's fully live, but there's a lot of places where that is the case. The mix sounds great. To me, it sounds better than the first one. And I do think that in general, they dialed back some of the auto-tune, which is great, especially for singers like Cynthia and Ariana, because it's just completely pointless when they use it on their vocals. I'm sure it's still being used, right? But it does feel a lot more subtle. There are some particularly egregious uses of the auto-tune in the first movie. There's something weird about it, though. What is that? That I wasn't a big fan of. I didn't hear anything as bad. But again, I've only seen the movie once, and I was like so blown away by it while I was watching it that sometimes I don't hear everything perfectly. Just like the first one, I was in tears almost the entire time, but we're going to get into that. So first, we're going to talk about Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba. And my general thoughts surrounding that is I feel like I shouldn't be saying this because, of course, this is a movie musical. It's not a real, Broadway performance here. But Cynthia might just be one of the best Elphabas of all time. Incredibly expressive actor. And the vocals in this second part are just on another level. Like, okay, the first half, of course, we have The Wizard and I, iconic, Defying Gravity, infinitely more iconic, the most iconic. It is hard to top that, and I don't think that this movie does top that, but No Good Deed. It might not rise to Defying Gravity just because Defying Gravity is Defying Gravity. I was sitting there in absolute awe watching it. I loved how huge her vocals were. I loved how powerful she sounded. It was really, really incredible. And if anything, her voice in a lot of ways gets even bigger and fuller and louder than it was in the first movie. But yeah, No Good Deed, it hits. Okay, I'm just going to say that. It absolutely hits. And of course, you better subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be reviewing it. As Long As You're Mine, I thought was a very fantastic sounding performance, although it came across very awkward, I think, in the movie. The actual singing and vocals were fantastic. I definitely want to react to the actual movie performance of it because it is just it's something. You have these moments where Jonathan Bailey, Firo, is just in her face doing the male musical theater voice. Hey, I love you. And then there's one part where he's like face to face with her like this, and it's like zoomed in on his face, and he's like grabbing her in the face, and he's like, as long as you're mine. It's funny because this is one of those moments where I think 90% of people are not going to think anything weird of it, but knowing how loud and belty he's being in that moment in real life, and also how close he is to her face, to me adds to some of that awkwardness, but maybe it's just me. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Maybe that's just me. It is kind of like that in the musical as well, so. I do want to add in, though, and I do touch on this later in my review, despite the fact that there are some campy moments, I really do appreciate that the movie does its best to honor the source material, to do some fan service, while also making the movie accessible to general audiences. And I think it's very difficult to please everyone at the same time. My overall point here is that they pulled it off, and I think it's really incredible, and it's going to get a lot more people into musical theater and into singing in general that wouldn't be. And I think that's very cool. Cynthia also has an original song. Ariana Grande also has an original song, new song for the movie. They're both good. Again, I'll be reacting to that. Oh my God, I'm so excited. So you gotta subscribe if you want to see the rest of that. Okay, so we're going to talk about For Good when we get to Ari here. Ariana Grande, of course, fantastic. Her vocals got even better somehow, I think. Her character was a little bit less character voicey than it was in part one. Part of that may be artistic choice. Another part of that may be Ariana Grande is getting more comfortable, but somehow her vocals were even better. I don't know what it is, but Ariana Grande, for me, took it to like a whole nother level. Like, her acting was incredible. And dare I say, again, I'm not a film critic. I don't know nothing about films. But what is the award? What is an award that actors get Oscars? I'm not going to be surprised. That's all I'm saying. We start off the film hearing her. She does the song "Thank Goodness." Again, I was in tears. I don't exactly know why. Then again, I'm in tears all the time on this channel. So it is what it is. And she also had an original song, which was pretty good. It was nice that it showed off some of her pop vocals. She had a nice, cool, belty pop high note in it. It was a good song. Neither of the original songs really like, and we'll see, maybe I need to listen to them more. Maybe it's a matter of familiarity. They're really not better than any of the music that already was in Wicked, but they fit. They don't sound out of place at all, in my opinion. And then For Good was very, very good. Particularly the ending of that. I again, in tears by the end of that song. The door scene, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you get there. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my mind. Which gets into really the heart of this movie, which is just Aria and Cynthia. They are just fantastic together. They have so many strong emotional moments. They really bring the musical completely to life in ways that I've just never experienced before. The Last 5 Years was another great musical movie. It had a very similar, emotional gut punch, I guess, for me. Of course, this movie is in a league of its own, and I didn't even touch on this, but the visuals, fantastic throughout the entire thing. The CGI, everything, amazing. Supporting cast, amazing. The SpongeBob guy, really strong vocalists. Okay, but we're going to get into some of the criticisms here, which I did kind of touch on earlier, which is just the pacing. The first movie, the first half of the musical is really amazing because it's so world buildy and you're just kind of getting introduced to it and you're experiencing this whole magical place and it's like, oh my God, what is going on? This is so amazing. But then the second half of the musical, they're like, oh wait, we have a story that we have to finish. So it is very, even in the musical, very jumpy. Like, you're going from scene to moment to moment to moment, and things are just moving very, very quickly. And part of that, I think, maybe doesn't fully translate into a movie. When you're watching it on stage, this is just my view of it, you kind of give the musical breathing room, in a sense, to change the set, change the location, whatever, because you're like, oh, this is a musical. Like, it's all good. If they need to jump from this place to this place to this place, that's fine. You're with it because you're kind of, the music is helping you move things along and it's kind of written to be this way. In a movie, it does get a little bit jarring, I think. I don't personally mind it. I don't really care that much because I am looking at this through the lens of like, this is still a musical, but I do totally understand. I've seen a number of complaints about the pacing and I totally understand where people are coming from with that. And in particular, there are a number of important moments and the actors really kind of just move past these events happening as if they're not really that important, which again, I don't know that works in movie form, but I do think it is a little bit unfair when people, criticize the movie for flaws that existed in the musical in the first place. And the movie is just really, it's doing a pretty great job of sticking to that source material. And also, I think it's important to recognize at the end of the day, this is a family holiday movie. So they're probably not going to show Bach getting torturously transformed into the Tin Man, blood spurting out of his neck and shit. I think realistically, the only way to resolve a lot of these problems would have been to increase the runtime of the movie, and I think it was already 2 hours, or maybe adding a 3-parter like in Lord of the Rings. I would love that. But then again, once you start getting into this territory, then you do start to rewrite the musical. I just don't know. I'm fine with what they did, to be completely honest. If you just go into it knowing that there might be some pacing stuff going on, I think you're going to have a better time than expecting it to be like a fully fleshed out, movie. It is still a musical. And I respect that they're trying to stick to the source material as closely as possible. There's definitely places where they deviate, and people who are way more familiar with Wicked than I am, I've only seen it a few times, will probably clock that better than me. Final thoughts: strength of the actors, the strength of the vocalists, the strength of the music, the strength of the mixing. I think just elevate this. Oh my God, I'm tearing up just thinking about it. Just elevate both parts of this musical to just legendary status. I don't know when, if ever, these two movies are going to be topped. Like, my God. The only thing I'm upset about is that there's not going to be another one. There has to be another one. I did hear that Sabrina Carpenter is supposedly like doing something musically. Sabrina Carpenter starring Alice in Wonderland musical, which sounds cool, but it's not going to be this. We'll see. I'm not trying to hate on it before it comes out, of course, but there's just something so special about Wicked to me, and and particularly this movie interpretation of it. And the only thing I hope is that going forward, Hollywood is like, maybe we should hire singers for musicals. Maybe we should let them do some live singing. Maybe we should back off on overproducing their vocals. Maybe we should, you know what I'm saying? Like, anyway, it was incredible. I really want to see it again, and I really want to watch it with you guys. At least, listen to the soundtrack or react to clips from the movie or whatever it is that we end up doing, live performances and so on. So be sure you subscribe for that, and let me know what you thought about the musical down in the comments below. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.